So we're doing an ethos check for this article. The article was Loblaw expects higher minimum wage laws to hurt profits. So I'm going to start with the website. Now this came from something called CanadianGrocer.com, and we want to make an assessment of this. Well, if we take a quick look around, one of the things that we can see is that it is a very corporate feeling website, right? We can tell that almost just by looking at it. It's not an academic source, it's not a news source, and so we have to wonder why it exists. Who is reading this? Who is writing this? So let's take a look at some of these websites. Uh, okay, it has some information about COVID. It says Freshco expansion lands in Alberta. Starbucks plans to pull back. Dollarama Q1, that means quarter one, which is an investment term. Their profit is down for over a year. If we look in here, a little further down, oh, there's Galen Weston. Wow. Uh, we've got some information about product wars, cola wars. Um, it says Bell Group promotes Christine Lafort, and she's become the general manager of this company. And so we have to ask ourselves, it has all this stuff about CEOs, all this stuff about this business. And so it seems like this website isn't really for most people. It's for people who are involved in the grocery store industry in Canada. But it doesn't seem like it's for people who work at the checkout counter or people who stock the shelves. It's for people who are higher up in that business. It seems to be people like CEOs, maybe grocery store managers, and since we're talking about quarterly profits, it's probably for investors as well. So, the topic that we're looking at with this article is the minimum wage and whether the minimum wage is going to be overall, whether it's good or bad to have that increase in the minimum wage. So I can't say for sure whether this is a reliable source or not, but one thing I can definitely tell is that it is a very biased source on this topic. If it's for people who are the owners, the managers, the CEOs, the presidents, well, they clearly are going to want to have a lower minimum wage, and that will increase their profits. So there's definitely a bias here. And remember, bias doesn't mean, oh, they have an opinion, because everybody has an opinion. But it means that their opinion that they're expressing in this case is actually coming from their own, how they personally will be affected, um, rather than just what they believe. Now, the second thing we want to look at for bias and to check for reliability is the author. Now, the article, in this case, you'll remember, we don't actually know the author. It's not listed. But what we can do is we can take a look at the person in the article, this guy right here, Galen Weston, who is actually making the argument. He's making the claim that an increase in minimum wage is bad. So let's take a look. Let's see, Galen Weston, we've got some basic information here. I also found something from Rank and File, which is a labor politics magazine, and they made him the 2017 Scumbag of the Year. Now, I wonder why that is. Well, uh, it says that he, first of all, he is the CEO of Loblaw. He has a personal worth of over $8 billion. He inherited the company from his father, so it's not something that he built from the ground up. Um, if we look over here, in 2018, or was it 2017, he was found to be price fixing, which basically means it was a very fancy way of stealing from customers by illegally overcharging for bread, for the cost of bread. Um, and there's really a lot of information about him. But I think just based on this, we can really, oh, and the Loblaw company itself, which is actually the biggest grocery store company in the world, we can see that he's pretty biased on the topic of minimum wage. He's got an obvious reason why he wouldn't want it to go up, um, because he's in a position related to a company and related to the issue of minimum wage, where it means that he'll make less money if minimum wage goes up. Beyond that, we can see that he has been involved in some pretty sketchy business, some illegal business. And so I would say that this is an author who, in general, is pretty unreliable. And on the specific issue of minimum wage, I would say that he is definitely biased. So these are things we want to keep in mind when we're assessing this source.